Right, so go ahead and download Adobe Illustrator since this is what we're going to be learning. Go to Creative Cloud from Adobe. There's a free trial. I don't know how long. Maybe it's like 7 days, but that's not going to be enough. Um, well, if we click here, we can see the pricing. It's uh paid monthly, $60 a month if you got the Creative Cloud, but that's for individuals. Since you guys are students, you should be able to get it for 20 bucks a month. So not bad. Um, I think all you need for this is a .edu email account. So if you have an LA Pacific or at lapacific.edu email, you should be able to get with the discount. And the reason why we're getting Creative Cloud is because it comes with a bunch of stuff. What is Creative Cloud? Um, you got Photoshop, Illustrator, Acrobat, Premiere, Firefly. I don't know what Firefly is. I think that's something new, right? Yeah, that's their AI thing now. So that's brand new. I think this one is supposed to be free for everyone. I don't even think you need a Creative Cloud to use Firefly. You got text to image, generative fill, and text effects. Pretty cool. New thing that they've added is text to vector, which is kind of exciting and also um, I guess it's not something graphic designers need to worry about. Yeah, it's going to be easier to do a lot of stuff in Adobe Illustrator, but that's just more advantage to you, less time for you to waste on trying to draw things. Um, it's in exploration. I don't know what that means. I guess you can't use it yet in exploration. But that's pretty cool because up till now, these AI tools, they generate art for you by typing in a text prompt. Like if you type in, I don't know, draw a puppy wearing a sweater, it'll actually paint a nice picture for you. Pretty realistic too. But if you asked it to do a logo for you, it would draw the logo, but it wouldn't give you a vector. Um, and if you're not sure what a vector is, that's pretty much the main difference between using something like Illustrator and Photoshop is Illustrator lets you draw vector graphics, which are um, more scalable. You can scale them infinitely. They have nice crisp edges, solid fills. You could have gradients too, but they're not made out of pixels like what you'd get from something like Photoshop or Paint. All right, so let's. Oh, here it is. Okay, so what's new? Text to vector. They have it here. Um, we could actually try that. Again, this is a brand new feature, so I haven't really had much time to play with it, or actually I haven't played with this one at all since I just updated. But let's see, generate, let's say, um, logo for new car company called, um, I don't know, not Tesla. Okay, let's do Nike, Nike car company. Generative AI, agree, and it should generate something. But you see here this graphic. Typically, this is what graphics in Illustrator will look like. It's more cartoony than what you would see in Photoshop because everything is made out of shapes. So it's all geometry, and that's the car logo they came up with. It tried to put some text in there, but the text doesn't. I think it still has trouble with writing actual letters. But you can see it drew like a figure of a car for us. And what's cool is this is a vector. So this is what I mean by it's infinitely scalable. You could make it as big as you want. You're never gonna see pixels, right? If this was Photoshop, you would see little pixels. Let me actually open Photoshop. Photoshop. But yeah, notice if I go into what's called outline view, everything is just made out of lines. Even all of these trees and the mountains and the moon and all that here, which I've covered with this logo. Right, it's all made out of lines and shapes, and then you just fill those lines and shapes with color. Right, you could have gradients or solid colors. So everything is just an individual shape here. And you notice this one, I am not able to separate any of the shapes at the moment because they are grouped together and they're inside what's called a clipping mask. Clipping mask is just hiding the stuff outside of what the shape is that's clipping everything. So there's a rectangle here. Outside of the rectangle, you can see there's this shape, for example, continues outside, but you don't see it because of the clipping mask. And if I just say object clipping mask release, and you can see the rest of it that was hidden. And even now, if I try to move one shape, they all move together because you can group things together. So I will say object ungroup. Okay, we ungrouped this from some of these plants, but if I go into layers, you'll see here we have a layers panel, and it shows you basically for every single shape there's a sub layer. So all of these that say path or group, they're all different shapes and also other groups inside. So this group right here is, let's see, if I select it, we will know which one I have selected because it will add a little blue square here next to it. So we have this group selected from my layers panel. It looks like it's the most bottom object in my layers panel, but it's a group. I can hide it and show it by clicking this little eye. And if I open this, we can see that inside that group there's another group and another group and a bunch of shapes inside that. So that's why if I say object on group, we'll get another group. And then if I say object on group again, that should get us down to, I think, well, not yet, one more object on group. Okay, now we're at the individual shapes, I think. Wait, I guess not. Let's see, we have, right now we have this group selected. So ungroup that again. And you could see it broke apart the group, but we still have another group. Ungroup that again. You'll see this often when you download graphics, like from Shutterstock or something. Whoever created this just made a ton of groups. And object ungroup again. You could see slowly we broke it apart, so now it's not grouped together anymore, and we could break it up into the separate pieces. Alright, so here's one shape. This is also a group. It's got actually, if you use the direct selection tool, the white arrow, that lets you select within a group an individual piece like this one or this one. But if I try using the regular black arrow, we move the entire group. So there's a direct selection tool for moving things that are inside a group. We'll talk more about groups, but I just wanted you to know that you can group things. There's also, I didn't have to ungroup all of this to get to the individual pieces. Like for example, this group here, I could double click on it. And when you double click, you enter the group. So now I'm inside a group. Here's another group inside that group. I could double click that. And you can see here too, it says layer 1, group, background. And then everything else is sort of grayed out. That's not part of this group. I can't touch it unless I go back or double click out here. Now I could grab the rest of it. But yeah, and you can see your groups and your subgroups and individual shapes in the layers panel. You could also create your own layers by clicking the little layer button. And I think I got Photoshop open here. Let me create a new file real quick. And let me just paste I don't know, this tree, for example. I'll paste it into Photoshop real quick. And now when I zoom in on this, you could see it's made out of pixels. So in Photoshop, you have a Photoshop is a raster image editing software. So raster just means it's made out of pixels. And then in Illustrator, it's geometry. It's individual points connected to other points with lines and curves, which you can manipulate. So it just makes it more useful for a certain style and for creating things like logos and icons that need to be scaled without losing quality. Not sure how to bring up. So I brought up that AI tool because when I just opened Illustrator, it asked me if I want to try it. Try now. Let's see how we can bring it up without clicking that. I'm just gonna click new file. Just create a new file. Oh yeah, by the way, when you create a new file, you'll have a bunch of options here. You can open a recent size that you had. You have mobile sizes, iPhone, iPad. You have web. So 1920 by 1080 typically, your HD size. You have print. Probably won't be working with any print. Switch back to web here. I'll just do a 1920 by 1080 and click create. You also have more options here. You could choose custom size for your file, but really it's not important because you can edit your artboard once you open it. So for example, if I make this, I don't know, 50 pixels by 50 pixels and I click create, we'll get this 50 pixel by 50 pixel artboard. But if I choose the artboard tool, I can always change that to 1920 by 1080 pixels. Right, now we have an HD size artboard, and you can have multiple artboards, different sizes. And what's the point of the different artboards? Well, whenever you export, say you do export for screens, you could export each individual artboard as a separate file. So it just makes it useful whenever you have like a bunch of similar designs. Maybe you're working on an ad and you need like 15 different sizes of that same ad. Then you could create one file and just have 15 different artboards for all the different sizes of that ad. Um, Alright, so some of you might already be familiar with Photoshop. Some of the tools are pretty similar. You'll notice there's a tools panel on the left in both Illustrator and Photoshop, and some of the tools look the same, um, but they work a lot different. I mean, not the type. Type tool is gonna be pretty much the same. You can create a text box by clicking and dragging, and actually Illustrator will fill it with lorem ipsum text for you. You could also just click and then again it'll fill it up and you can start typing, press enter to go to the next line. There's a difference between these two. There's a text box that you could drag, and then there's a text box that you just click. The difference is this one I can go to the next line infinitely. Right, you can keep going down. This one, if let's say start typing here and press enter, eventually you get this little red plus sign, and I think some of you were recently in InDesign, so you're familiar with that. If you took InDesign, that means there's overset text doesn't fit inside the box. That's why you get that plus sign. If you click on it, you could connect this to another text box with the continuation of that one. Right, if I delete this, eventually I'll get back to this text box. And you have your shape tools. So right here we have rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, which is pretty useless in my opinion now. Illustrator used to not have this ability where there's this little circle here. You could drag it to round the corners. That used to not exist. So that's why there is a rounded rectangle tool. But now that we could do that, it's kind of pointless having a rounded rectangle tool because you could just round a rectangle that way. It's also great because you can also round other shapes. So for example, a triangle, there was never a rounded triangle tool, so it was kind of, if you wanted to round a triangle, you'd have to do something like, I don't know, make a circle and then put it at the corners. Let's make that red so we could see better. You'd have to do that and then try to line it up perfectly and then use the shape builder to like chop off part of it, and then there's your rounded point. But now you could just drag that. And if you want to do them individually, just click one more time on that point. I think you have to use the direct select tool, and you could do that individually. And of course it works on other shapes. By the way, let's talk about, I'll go over these basic tools right now. So we already know about the selection tool. That's the black pointer. That one lets you move objects. So if I have these three and I've grouped them by right clicking and saying group, I can move the group together with this button here, with this pointer. With the direct selection tool, we can move individual boxes from the group. We can also move individual points on the boxes with the direct selection tool, but not with the normal selection tool. You move the whole group that way. So if you want, draw a rectangle, draw an ellipse, and I should mention some shortcuts I'm using right now. Shift, If you hold shift, you'll get a square and a circle instead of, if you don't hold shift, you'll get an ellipse or a rectangle. Holding shift just makes it a perfect circle or square. So try that out. And try rounding the corners of your shape by dragging that little circle. Try rotating. You can rotate by moving your pointer to the corner and until you see that double arrow, the curved double arrow. That's when you know if you click and drag, it's gonna rotate. If you just grab the corner like that, you can resize the shape. If you hold shift, it'll keep the proportions the same. If you hold shift while rotating, you'll rotate at 45-degree angles. So you should always play around with the shift button, see what that does with different tools, right? If I move this holding shift, it will move it in a 45-degree angle. If I don't hold shift, it just lets me move it wherever. But holding shift, you can see it's jumping from 45 degrees. Also lets you do a straight move. Oh, before I forget, people in Illustrator 2, this is all very basic to you. Let's do a pen practice. And your pen practice while we talk about this stuff is, let's start with something fairly easy. Draw at least one Powerpuff Girl. How about that? So Illustrator 2, let's draw the Powerpuff Girls. That's your pen practice for today. And maybe I should assign that on Google Classroom. And I'll have I'll have different categories on the classroom or topics. So Illustrator 1 and Illustrator 2 assignments I'll separate. So we'll say new assignment, pen practice. Powder puff. I don't know why it wants to correct that to powder puff. Anyways, draw the Powerpuff Girls in Illustrator. At least one. Okay. And this will be under topic, create topic, Illustrator 2, or CGT 185. Right. Just so you have something to do while we talk about the basics. Okay, so hopefully you guys are trying to follow along, and hopefully you have Adobe Illustrator, but practice with, again, the move tool, or what do you call it, the selection tool, the direct selection tool, practice rotating things, resizing things, rounding corners. And see if you could draw the different shapes here. Now, when you get to the polygon tool or the star tool, they're kind of similar in that um, this polygon tool lets you draw however many sides that you want. If you want a straight, well, if first of all, if you want a triangle on your keyboard, press the down arrow until you get to 3 points. If you press up, you'll add more corners. Press down, you'll remove corners. And you have to have at least 3 corners for a shape, so that's how you end up with the triangle. And if you want your triangle to stand up perfectly straight, you want to hold shift. If you don't hold shift, it'll be at a slight angle, right? And then you'll have problems if you're trying to draw another triangle that's perfectly aligned with that one. And what I just do there, that's copying. If you hold the Alt button and move something, you'll copy it. But yeah, usually when I draw shapes, I hold shift just to keep them straight. You could also draw a triangle by picking the polygon tool or the star tool. You could do one with the star tool as well. You're just gonna have these extra points in the middle. But yeah, you could also draw it by just with the polygon tool clicking. If you just click, it'll let you choose the radius and the number of sides. Same with the shape tools, the rectangle tool. Instead of clicking and dragging, you could just click and then just specify how big you want that, the width and the height. And same with the ellipse tool. You can choose the width and the height.
Can you go over again how you could get a triangle from the star?
Yeah, so both the star and polygon tool let you choose the number of sides by pressing up and down. So if you just press down all the way until you only have 3 points, you'll have a triangle. You could also click, and then for the star tool, you'll have 2 radiuses and a point. The reason why you have 2 radiuses is because let's say I didn't have a triangle, I had an actual star. When you draw a star, one radius is this inner circle or the inner points. Right, so there's your one of your radiuses, and then the other radius is the outside points. So you could actually choose, how close you want the inner radius to be to the outer radius, and that will look like this actually. So right now they're fixed at a certain ratio, but if I hold the control button, the inner radius will stay put while the outer radius gets bigger. So that's by holding the control button. And so that results in a different inner and outer radius ratio. So now we have a much smaller inner radius compared to the outer radius. right? So I'm using a bunch of other things here I haven't showed you yet. So to increase the thickness of a stroke, you could use the control panel. So up here, this is called the control panel. Control panel will usually have tools relevant to uh, what object you have selected and what tool you're using. So if I select a line segment like this, I'll get things like the stroke and the variable width profile and the brush definition. Um, you'll see that with any shape because any shape can have a stroke. Anyway, so you could click and then choose inner and outer radius. So radius 1, let's say, is 500, and radius 2 is half of that, 250, and we have 5 points. We get something like that. Um, if you want like a straight line here, you can press the Alt button, and that just adjusts the inner radius so that you get this straight um, star. Works with any number of sides. So it gives you these right angles if you hold the Alt button. Alright, let's move on from those tools. Let's talk about a few other things here. So you might have noticed when I was moving, or no, when I was drawing one of those circles, I drew a circle, a red circle, but couldn't see part of the circle because it was behind the other shape. And I did something and it came in front of the other shape. I'm rearranging the layers basically when I do what I just did here. I'm using a shortcut, control right bracket or command right bracket on the keyboard. That will rearrange the layers. So let me open up my layers panel. So this is called the layers panels, or they're panels, I mean. These are all your panels on the right side. It might be arranged differently for you. Actually, for sure it's arranged differently for you. It probably looks like, I don't know, probably looks like this. But you can change the layout of this. You could drag these out and close them. You could add other panels by going to window and then just picking a panel, like for example color panel, and then you could stick that in there. You could rearrange this. I usually have it something similar to Essentials Classic, and you could go up here to this little button and switch workspace. You could also go to view and then screen mode. Actually no, where is it? Maybe it's under window. Yeah, window, workspace, Essentials Classic, or you could click that little button there and choose Essentials Classic. And if you do mess it up, like let's say you close something and or it's just missing parts of it, you can click here and say reset Essentials Classic, or window, workspace, reset. I don't like having like the the 2-column layout here, so I'll just stick this properties down here and libraries down here and just have it more flush. And then you could click this little arrow to expand it, or you could just drag it out like this and just see the name of the panel. I think this is how I like having it. So if I need the layers panel, I'll just grab it from here. And again, if you're missing the layers panel, you could just go to Window, Layers, and then it'll pop up, and you could stick that wherever you want. So in my layers panel, we can see here, currently I've got two. Let me actually use my magnify tool so you could see that better. Magnifier. Right. So with this magnified, you can see here we got we've got layer 1, and inside layer 1, under the drop down, we've got an ellipse, which is this red circle here, and we've got polygon, which is this shape here. And ellipse right now is on top of polygon, but I could drag it down below it, and now you can see part of that line is now underneath the other shape. And if you select this one and you use the shortcut control right bracket, you could bring it up and down in the layers panel. Left takes it back, right brings it up. If I add more shapes, let me just move that aside for a second. If I add another shape here, let's just make like a different color circle over here. Now we've got 3 shapes. Let's make one more. Let's do a triangle. Let's make that whatever color. Alright, now if we look here, we've got more layers here. We've got the triangle on top, then the ellipse. Why does it say ellipse? Oh yeah, it is an ellipse. Then we have the other ellipse, and then we have the polygon. So if I select the polygon by clicking on it here, now it's selected. You could also select them by clicking this here. It'll select the shape for you if you click here. Clicking here doesn't really select the shape, it just selects the layer here, but it's not actually selecting the shape. So if you want to actually select this shape, you have to click that little button there. So now this got selected. But we can use the shortcut. As you can see, it goes up and down in the layers panel with control left and right bracket. If you press control shift or command shift left or right bracket, you'll bring it all the way up or all the way down. Instead of one level at a time, you'll go all the way up, all the way down. So sometimes I press control shift left bracket or right bracket when I want to move something all the way to the back or all the way to the front. So again, that's control or command on a Mac plus either this or that. And that's actually a shortcut for object, arrange, bring to front. You can see the shortcut right there. Bring forward, send backward, send to back. Just a quick way to rearrange your layers if you don't feel like opening the layers panel and arranging it that way. You could always just drag it up and down this way too. Alright, let's put that back there, and let me close the magnifier. Any questions so far? So we got a lot of tools here. I'm not going to go over every single one here, but I'll cover important ones. So the shapes and the direct selection and selection tool, those are pretty important. Um, Under the rectangle and polygon tool, there's also a flare tool. It just does this weird thing for whatever reason that's included if you want to create like a lens flare, but let's ignore that one. Um, you have magic wand here too, just like in Photoshop. The magic wand lets you select similar objects. So you could select objects that have the same fill color or the same stroke color or the same stroke thickness or the same opacity. So you could choose those options by double clicking on it, and then by default it's set to fill color, and there's a tolerance to it too. So in case the color is not exact, if it's close enough, it'll still select it. But you can see here there's fill color, stroke weight, opacity, and blending mode. So let's say you have, let me just draw some more shapes here. Let's do a black circle and then make one of these a blue color and another one yellow and another one red. Let's make this green so it's easier to see. And then just create a few more of these. Just stagger these around. And again, hold Alt if you want to copy objects quickly together, like I'm doing here. So these are all. The shape doesn't matter. You can't. The magic wand is not going to understand the size of something or the shape. It's only going to look at the color, or the opacity, or whichever other of these options you have selected. So right now it's on fill color, and the tolerance is at the default, which is 32. Now if I use the magic wand to select this blue, you can see only the blue got selected. And if I use it to click on the black one, only the black got selected, and so on and so forth. So now I'm going to switch to stroke color. Tolerance is still at 32. Now if I click on it, you see they all got selected since they all have no stroke. So technically they all have the same stroke of no stroke. If I choose stroke weight, same thing. They don't have a stroke, or stroke weight is 0. So they all get selected. But let's just select a few random shapes here. Doesn't matter which color I'm clicking on. I'm just gonna grab some random ones and give these a red stroke of 15 pixels. And actually 2 of these, I'll make them 5 pixels. And then with the magic wand set to stroke weight, if I click this one, you can see all the others with that same stroke and same stroke weight got selected. If I increase the tolerance, right now it's at 5, but if I scale that up to like 200, and then I click on that with the magic wand, the other ones with the thinner stroke also got selected because the tolerance is too high. Alright, set that back to 0. And let's delete those. But anyways, you get the idea. Magic wand lets you select similar objects. I'll close that. And you can bring up that option by double clicking the magic wand tool. Type tool is cool. You can type many different ways. If you want to type along a circle or any path, doesn't have to be a circle. You could grab the type tool, and if you bring the um, pointer to the line, you'll notice that your that tool sort of changes to a circle. You click like that, you'll start typing inside the shape. If you hold the Alt button and then click there, you could type this way along the edges. And you can also mess with this, like where do you want it to start and end. You can rotate it. You can drag it to the, let's see, how do we drag it inside? We could drag it so it's reversed like this. You could double click on the type tool, and you can change the effect from rainbow to skew. Turn on preview to see what that would do. To 3D ribbon, stare, step, gravity. You can flip it this way. Align to the ascender, descender, center, baseline. And you can also adjust the spacing. So you also have the line segment tool, arc tool, spiral tool, rectangular grid tool. I rarely use these. I mean, if you want to just draw a line, you could do that. And if you don't see your shape that you're drawing, make sure it has a stroke that you can see or a fill that you can see. If you're just drawing a line, the fill is not going to matter because it's just a line. Say I give it a red fill, you're not going to see that unless you connect that with the corners like that. That right there was the pen tool. Lets you draw shapes by dropping points and connecting those points. Clicking and dragging will create curves. And if you just click, you'll get a point. And you can use the direct selection tool to mess with those curves. Paintbrush, just for drawing, using one of these different brushes. You can increase the thickness. With the control panel. But anyways, I think that's enough going over like the basic tools here. Let's talk about your first assignment. I'm gonna give you something on Google Classroom, just a book lesson. Let's close that. So this is from Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a book from like, I don't know, 2016. No, it's actually much older than that. Anyways, it's a really old book lesson, but goes over the basics. It's gonna be lesson 2 from that textbook. Let me reuse that link here. I wonder if I could drag it here. Okay, anyways, you should see it in like 2 seconds. Just refresh Google Classroom.
This is recorded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Alright, so if you have Google Classroom open, you'll see lesson files. Um, they should be in here, lesson 2. If you download this real quick, should be 2 files in there. It's kind of tricky downloading from Google Classroom. So you could click this and then I wouldn't do it that way. I don't know what this will do, but just click here, open in a new window, and then you'll see this download button. I don't know why it's complicated like that. That's how you download these lessons. And then we can extract the files from there. Or if you have a Mac, just double click on it. Should extract it that way. So that should be in my downloads. Lesson 2. And there's 2 parts, lesson 2 start 1 and start 2. And this is what start 1 will look like, just a tree with a fence. And lesson 2 is a school bus. So for your first assignment in CGD 180, I want you to line up these posts here using, you're gonna select them with the selection tool. And then let's talk about these alignment tools here. So in the control panel, you'll notice all of these up here. Let me again bring up the magnifier so you can see this better. So up here you have align left, align center. This is aligning things vertically. And then here's horizontally. You could align left, center to the right, or top, center, bottom. These are your distribute options. Distributing means, you know, spacing them apart equally. You could also bring up all of these through, let's see, it should be in the panels here. If you don't see it, let's go to window and click align, and then there it is. So you have your align panel. You could use that instead. You could drop that there if you want it to stay there. And if you have a certain layout that you like for your tools and panels to be in, set it up how you want, and then click this button or go to window workspace. Let me move this out of the way. Window workspace. You could say new workspace and then you could save it. As you can see, I have one here called David, so that's how I did it. I set up my workspace how I want, and I said new workspace, and then I gave it a name, right? I called it David. So now when I go window workspace David, it sets it up how I prefer. And if I again mess it up, I can always click to go back here and say reset, and it brings it back to how it should be. But anyways, the align panel also will have these options here. So vertical align, horizontal align, and then distribute objects. You could also adjust distribute spacing. But for this fence that we're gonna create, there's two pieces for this. There's this here, and then there's all these. Well, I guess there's two parts. There's this horizontal rectangle, and then these fence posts. If you select all of these, you can align them all to the bottom, like that, by clicking align bottom, and they'll line up on the bottom like this. You'll notice one of them is sticking out. It's not the same as the others. Don't resize it. Don't grab that and then just scale it down, because if you do that, it's still gonna look different. You can see here this corner and this corner, they don't really line up, right? So what you need to do is, instead of using the selection tool and scaling it down, you should use the direct selection tool and just move the top point down. And you can hold shift if you want to move in a straight line down. But it should already, notice these purple lines that are popping up that says intersect. That's your smart guides. If you go to view, you should have it turned on by default. If you don't, make sure that is on. It's very useful. And also snap to point. If you don't snap, it's just going to be harder to align things. Right, so once you have those all at the same height, you use the direct selection tool to adjust that point so it matches the other ones. By the way, you could also, in case like this was messed up like this, I can also select all of those points this way by using the direct selection tool and dragging over all of those top points. So now all these top points are selected only, and then I could line them up that way. But let's not do that. So once those are aligned to the bottom, you can distribute them. So you want to use vertical distribute, or sorry, horizontal distribute center. Actually, in this case, it doesn't matter if you do center, left, or right. It would matter if these shapes were different widths, I think. But that will evenly space them apart. Then you can put this piece over that one, right? And then you can select the whole thing and group it together. If you want, you could do a subgroup. You could select the posts first and then group those. Right click and group, so they're grouped together, and then you could group it with that horizontal line group. So now the whole thing is grouped together. If I double click on it, this is still grouped, because now we have two groups group inside another group. If you look in the layers panel, you'll notice the same thing here. We've got a group, and inside that is the individual posts in another group. Anyways, once that's grouped together, bring it down. I mean, you don't have to bring it all the way down. Just make a nice little scene. Make use of these other shapes. Oops. We have a tree here that's probably needs to be grouped together. Right click and group those. And put that in front of the fence or behind the fence with control or command left bracket. You can put it behind the fence. And then put some of these apples on the tree, and if it's behind the tree, control right bracket to bring it into the front. Same with this one, control command right bracket. And resize them if they're too big. Also, I don't know if it's my monitor, but for some reason it's hard to look at this red on that green background. So I will adjust the color. This gives us a chance to look at the colors panel. So this is your swatches. It's in the control panel, swatches. It's just predefined colors. You could also grab your swatches from the panels if it's there. If it's not there, it's window swatches. There it is. So those are just colors that are predefined. If you want a custom color, you can double click your color panel here and pick a custom color from there. You could also do it from the color panel. You could pick a custom color this way. You could click this little button in the top right corner of the color panel, or any panel should have that little button there. Looks like a 3 lines hamburger icon. Click that. You could show options to make it a little bit easier to pick a color. Right now it's set to HSB from the options, but you could do RGB or CMYK. I like HSB. Lets me pick the hue and then how saturated I want the color to be and how dark I want it to be. So I'll pick like a red color and then just adjust the darkness a little, make it a little bit darker so it's easier to look at. And you can hold the Alt button and copy that if you want more apples, maybe different shades so they're not all exactly the same. That's again hard to look at. I don't know what you want to do with this hat. I'll just put it here, maybe rotate it. Why is that hat there? I don't know. And to finish it off, you could draw a rectangle, make it green, send it to the back, and you'll have some grass. But feel free to add your own touch to this, like for example, get rid of the stroke on the fence. Oh, then you can't see it. Add a sky. Make that light blue color. Send it to the back. Yeah, so the reason why there's 2 artboards is, I guess, so you could take everything and I don't know why there's 2 artboards. Just use one of them. You could delete the other one with the artboard tool. Then you want to save this. You could do file. If you do save or save as, it'll save an Illustrator file. You do save on your computer. You could also save on the Creative Cloud if you have the subscription. I think they give you some storage you can use. You could also export if you want to just save it as a JPEG or a PNG. Do a file export and then export as or export first. It doesn't really matter. Any of these will work. They just give you different options when you're saving it. But I'll do export as, and then I'll choose JPEG and just save that on the desktop. Say export. Oh, and if you choose use artboard, it will save whatever's on the artboard. as opposed to if you had stuff outside the artboard and you didn't choose use artboard, it would save the whole thing. But usually I have it on use artboard, or I try to keep all my stuff within the artboard if I'm gonna do that. And then you export that, you'll get a JPEG. Or, choose JPEG or PNG is fine. I don't care which one you use. Once you're done with that, try to make this school bus look like this one. And then add a background to it. And that'll be all for the first assignment. So this, to make it look like that, you want to grab this, you want to grab these, you want to line these up, center them like this, and then probably want to lengthen that one and that one, oops, with the direct selection tool. Then you want to probably group these together to make it easier to move it around. Bring that there. You could also select that whole thing and line it up as well, but the smart guide should line it up, center it for you perfectly. Then you could group that together and move it here. For this, you want that centered. You could use the smart guides to help you center it, or select both and do that and that, and then group it together. Bring that there, copy it over to here by holding the Alt or Option button. Then bring this here, drop it right there, and then for this piece here, you can see it's sticking out more, so scaling it doesn't really work. It looks weird, doesn't look the same. So instead, use the direct selection tool and just move that middle point up. If you wanted to line up exactly with the other one, you can select both. Actually, this is locked, never mind. Just line it up close, doesn't have to be perfect. Then throw a road under there. Send that to the back. And give it a sky. Send that to the back and change the color to actual sky color. Maybe it's nighttime. And add whatever else you want to that, but do that and export them as JPEGs or PNGs, and that'll be all for your first assignment. And then if you're in Illustrator 2, hopefully you're drawing the Powerpuff Girls while I talked about this. Let's take a break and then we'll actually do some Illustrator 2.
Question really quick. Sorry, I know you showed it, but like I can't get my my lesson out from Google Classroom, and I'm on a PC.
Yeah,
And I'm on a Mac and I have the same issue.
yeah, it's weird. Here, let me see. Where's Google Classroom? So you wanna click on it, and you don't see a download button, right?
Right.
Yeah, but if you click these three dots and say open in a new window,
Uh-huh.
then for some reason it shows a download button.
Oh, yeah. That's weird. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if this works also. Open with zip extractor. Probably
Mhm.
not. I think I tried this before and it's just weird. Let's not do that. Just do the
Okay, it worked. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
If anyone knows an easier way to download that, let me know. I don't know why it's difficult. I could also here, I've downloaded. I could also put it in the chat.
Ah, awesome.
There it is. All right, any other questions? Nope. Okay, let's take a break. 15 minutes. Let me pause the recording. Okay, let me show you again. So, whenever you select all of these and you use the vertical align bottom, they'll line up like that.
Yep, got that.
And then you'll notice if I go into outline view, actually that doesn't really help. But if I draw a line through here, you'll see, they all line up. The corners here line up. The only
Yep.
thing that doesn't line up is the top, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you don't want to scale this like this, because then you're gonna mess up that part. So instead, with the direct selection tool, just drag that point down. Delete these. The smart guides should help you line it up perfectly. That little purple line will pop up. Then to distribute them evenly, you select all of them again and then click horizontal distribute center, and that lines them up or spaces them out evenly.
Yeah, I'm looking for that horizontal. Let me see. Center. Yeah, I get like coffin kind of design when I do that.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
It's pretty bizarre.
Wait, what do you have selected when you do that? Is it just a fence post or you have something else?
I tried to get just the fence post.
Okay.
Got them all selected just like you did. Although mine doesn't look the same. I see all the dots to be able to control each aspect of each fence post. I don't see just the selection, but that. Let me see. Maybe if I do the
Is that what you did?
wait a minute, hold on. Let me see. Horizontal distribute right, horizontal distribute center.
Are you
Still,
selecting them with the selection tool or the direct selection tool?
I was using direct selection tool,
That's
but
the
then I went to the selection tool and still I'm getting the same results.
well,
There, that's what I'm seeing too. Yeah.
yeah, if you select first with the direct selection tool and then you switch to the selection tool, you're still gonna have the points selected that you had selected with the direct selection tool. So you
Mm.
need to select it again. So deselect and then select them again with, make sure you're doing it with the selection tool.
Deselect. Okay, got it. No, that didn't. All right, let me go ahead and select. No. Mm-mm. Oh well. Okay, I'll figure it out.
But are you still getting that same result that looks like this?
Um, like yeah, kind of like coffin. That's weird.
You're still direct selecting it, looks like.
No, I'm going with the same thing you're doing right. Well, right now I'm doing the direct selection tool.
No, don't do the direct selection tool.
Oh, okay. Do the other one. Okay, let me do that then. Let's see. Got it.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Alright, any other questions for Illustrator 1 before I switch to 2? No? Okay. I'm gonna close this and this one, and let's open up lesson 5, which I put here in Google Classroom. If you open up lesson 5, click that one and open in a new window and download it. I'll also share this in the chat. So let's unzip that. Right. Showing lesson 5.1. I guess I already have it somewhere here. Yep. Alright, so lesson 5 is gonna have a bunch of different parts. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's an end file. Let me open up the end file. So end file should show you. I don't know if you guys have the end file actually. And let me just close this. I'll just open the one I downloaded so I know I have the same thing you have. Yeah, it does. Okay, it is the same. Anyways, the end file shows you the end result. I'm trying to draw a violin. But before we get to that, we'll take baby steps with the pen tool. The lesson 5 is all about the pen tool. Go ahead and open 1 through 5. Right, so we have lesson 1 start 1, or lesson 5 start 1, and it's just a zigzag. So basic usage of the pen tool is if you click one point and then another point, you'll draw a line from that point to the other. Alright, pretty basic. And then in your work area, just try it without guidelines. Just do a zigzag. That's pretty easy. So I don't think I need to waste any more time on lesson 5 start 1. Let's close that one. Let's go to 2. Okay, in 2 we have these 90-degree and 45-degree angles. So point of this one is if you click with the pen tool and hold shift, you'll constrain to 45-degree angles. So then you could go like this, 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 and this, and this. So holding shift will do 45-degree angles. So try that real quick. And move on to the next one. Alright, so these are the ones that get a little bit tricky. Lesson 5 start 3. Now you have a curve. Start with A. If you want to draw a curve like this, you really just need 2 points. So don't do rookie thing like this. Obviously, if you're tracing a shape like that, you don't want to put multiple points. You just need 1 point here and 1 point here, basically, right? So like that, you get a straight line. But if you made this point converted to a smooth with these handlebars, you could pull this one up a little bit and then do the same with this side. Click this button here, convert selected anchor point to smooth, You can drag that one up, and yeah, then you can get that curve with just this point and this point. But if you want to do it in one go, you with the pen tool, click your starting point and drag up, then click the end point and drag down, right? And then if it's not quite right or it's not perfect, let's turn off the fill so we could see through it. You could always go to the direct selection tool and then adjust that. So try that. And I'll do one here without the guideline. Click and drag up, click and drag down, and let the smart guides help you line things up. Unfortunately, the smart guide doesn't snap like this handle to this handle. So, I mean, if you wanted to like draw a curve, actually it does. Here. It does snap to that handle. I don't know why it does there, but oh no, it doesn't. It was snapping to. Wait, I don't get it. It does when I come down here. Or maybe it's snapping to the previous. I don't know what it's snapping to. Anyways, it just, if you want that to be exact, just draw a line here. And then pull that up to the line, and pull that up to the line, and then you have it perfect. So that shouldn't be too hard. Then try this one. Starting point, click and drag up. Next point, click and drag down. And then again, drag up, down. And don't worry about it if it's not perfect, just get it approximately there. And if you have OCD, then you can do this afterwards with the direct selection tool. Right, and then try it in the work area without guides. Click, drag up, click, drag down, up, down, up, down. And if you want things lined up perfectly, you could draw some guidelines, or you could turn on the grid. Remember the grid? If you go to view, show grid, you can turn on the grid, and then if you turn on view, snap the grid, then you can do this and this, and just, I don't know, have it perfect. I guess that's too far. Let's go from here to here, here to here. Actually, let's go one more box up. Anyways, if you wanted it to be perfect, you could use the grid. Let's turn off, snap the grid, and turn off or hide grid. So try that and then let me know if you're having trouble. Alright, let's try the next one. So let's close lesson 3 or lesson 5.3 and let's go to 4. So here it's a little bit different. Instead of curving up and then down, up and down, this one is sort of bouncing. So we go from there to there and then we go up again. So that means you have to hold the Alt button or Option button, and when you hold the Option button you can break this handle. So you see how one is pointing up and the other one's going down. If you hold Alt, you could break this and have it point up also, and then draw the next point down again. Hold Alt, point that up, drag it down, hold Alt or Option, drag it up, Alt. There you go. And then you can turn off the fill and then adjust it if you want it to be perfect. And then this one, same thing, just click and drag up and then click and drag down, hold the Alt button to break this. And if you want a straight line like going from here to here, you either point this in that direction or just get rid of it completely by just Alt clicking and then just click one time right there. Actually, you're gonna want to Alt click and drag this down and then drag that one up. Alt click to get rid of it, get rid of the handle, click the next point, Alt click and drag up, and oops, Alt click, drag up, click the next point and drag down. Then try it without the guides. Oops. Also hold shift if you wanna point that straight up. Shift and the Alt button. And then also if you want like perfect, you could do a view, show grid, and then view, snap to grid, and then click and drag up, click and drag down. Do that much. And let's turn off the grid and snap to grid. Anyway, just play around with it till you get the hang of it. You just need to understand it a little bit better, and then you'll be able to move on to this one. So this one, we start from A, click the box, and drag to the red dot, click the next box, B, drag to the red dot, and then click C and drag to the red dot, click D, drag to the red dot. But here we have a yellow dot, So we need to hold the Alt button or Option button and then break this next handle and point it there. Then we can click the next point and drag to the red. And again, we have a yellow one, so Option, move that there. Click the next point, drag it there, click the next. This one's kind of tricky. Well, I guess it's the same as the others. Click and drag to the red, hold Option, drag to the yellow, click, drag to the H. Let's turn off fill by clicking no fill here, or none, so it doesn't cover our template. Click and drag, hold Alt, drag to the gold, click and drag, hold Alt, drag to the gold, and finally this last one you're gonna wanna Alt click and drag to the red dot, and you should have your violin shape. This is for that weird shape that goes here. So step 1, it says do that, and then step 2, do that. Just click the box, drag to the red dot, click the box, drag to the red dot, click the box, drag to the red dot. Right, and then from this one, click and drag to the red dot. From C, since it already did A, B, C, click, and this one's the tricky one. If I drag here, it doesn't look right. Drag it here, it doesn't look right. Drag it here, it doesn't look right. So what are you supposed to do here? Just drag it here, and then Alt click and break that and drag it there. Then continue or go back to the A, but this time Option click and drag that way. Option click and drag the opposite direction of the circle or the gray dot until the handle matches there. I don't know, this one's instructions are not clear, but you could figure it out. Then I can go here. You can start adding colors to it. This is gonna be well, it says here gray, I guess. This can be violin color. Oh, and we need to arrange this, send it behind the other shape. So Option left bracket, or sorry, Control left bracket. Then we need to work on, let's do the neck. Now here's where you need to look at the end file so you know what you're doing here. So open L5 end. So you kind of get an idea of what the neck is supposed to look like. If you notice, if I copy that and paste it here, you see it's not exactly the same. This is where you would need the textbook. The textbook kind of tells you what to do here, but if we look at this, you can see here it's more rounded, and here there's a flat line here, and it's a bit wider. It's wider, right? This is wider. So what you need to do here is click that top point and then click the scissor to cut that point. And once you cut that point, you separate this into 2 pieces. Just drag them apart a little bit. Then when it's dragged apart, you can select these 2 points and click this button here, connect selected endpoints. It'll draw a line through them. Now it's connected again, and then this looks different. So what you need to do is just select these 2 points. So shift click these two. Click this button here to convert selected anchor points to smooth. Alright, we're getting closer to that, but we still need to drag this bottom handle down a little bit, and this one too. And that's it. So now we have that shape. It's also a little bit longer, so you're gonna want to drag it down. And then to create this, you could either just connect these 2 points, and then with the pen tool, alt click to drag that down. Oops, and that one up, and then sort of eyeball it. You could also draw a circle, line it up with that corner, and scale it down to match. Make sure it's snapping right there exactly to the point, and delete that top part, and then connect that and connect that. It's a little too long, I'll drag it back up a little bit. Then you can fill that with neck color, and that goes here somewhere. Just line it up, align it to the center. And again, we need to look at this here. You got the strings that need to go there. For the strings, we need to just draw a straight line from this point to this point. Use the line segment tool for that, or the pen tool. Just click there and then click there. If you want these circles at the tip and the squares at the other tip, you could physically or manually draw a circle, but let's do it the way this lesson intends it to be, which is using the stroke panel. You want to click show options and turn on dashed line. You could adjust how far apart you want the dashes to be. If you want to match that right there, I think it's gonna be, looks like around 3 or 4. Anyways, it doesn't have to be exact. Well, also here, if you want it to be exact, maybe we could change this here. That doesn't help. Anyways, it doesn't have to be exact. But to get the circle at the tip, you could also choose arrowheads. So if you look at the arrowheads, there's a start arrow and an end arrow. I think I don't know if this, well, it depends how you drew the line. I think I clicked here first and then I dragged it down. So this is probably the back part of it. Yeah. So I don't want an arrow. I want this circle. So I'll choose that and drag this up. You could increase the scale of the circle by clicking the scale button here. And then for the other end, I want to choose little square and drag that down. And we need a few of these. And well, should make those circles a little bit smaller, and they need to stretch all the way um past those areas there, like all the way towards the bottom. So we still need to scale this actually further down like that. So from there to here. And I'm gonna scale that down. So let's bring that down to, I don't know, 30%. And probably should do the same with this here. Let's scale that down. Let's just go 60% on that one. And we need 4, so copy that, copy it, and copy it again. And select all 4 and do a distribute, horizontal distribute. Cool, and then just need to add a little rectangle here somewhere. We don't need it to be dashed, so let's turn that off and just reverse the fill and the stroke. And it's gonna go behind the strings, but it's the same color, so let's make it gray so we can see that it's behind the strings. This thing needs to go here. And the shape's a little bit different because one of the things they do in the lesson is using the where is it? The smooth tool, which is under the shaper tool. You could draw over these, just mess with the shape a little bit. Anyways, it's a weird shape, so we don't need to get it exact. If you double click on it, you can increase the fidelity to be more smooth. It just means it's gonna have fewer points, I guess. But anyways, it's like a tool I never use, so let's not waste time on that one. This part, it is not explained in the lesson. How do you draw these shapes? They don't really talk about that. It's just thrown in there. But I'll copy paste them. Now if you did want to draw this shape, I guess the easiest way might be maybe with the spiral tool. Draw a spiral like this. Remember, spiral tool, if you press up, you get more deeper spiral. Press down, it won't be as deep. If you hold the control button, you can kind of play with the how coiled it is. Anyway, just make a spiral. And then take one, take the bottom of that spiral, or the outside point, and just drag it down a little bit and then straighten it. Do something like that. And then take it and copy it, flip it over 180 degrees, and then do that. Actually, let's do that at the end. But we know it's kind of, we're gonna have to do that eventually. But let's just work on this one. Kind of make it look how you want. Then we can take this and increase the thickness. And we can do this Actually, let's leave it uniform. And then we could play with the width tool here. So width tool, you can make it thicker. Width tool, make it thicker here and thinner up here, I guess. Maybe a little bit thicker right there. Right, and maybe get rid of this point. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's just keep that there and draw a circle on top of it. Something like that. It does not look like that. It's more, I guess it ends right there. Yeah, I do need to get rid of this. This is too much of a spiral. Get rid of that. Just add a circle here. Right. Fill that. And take this and do an object expand appearance and just clean it up a little bit. Let's first merge these together. And then let's clean it up. So get rid of unnecessary points like that one. And that one. And then just, I don't know, make it look nice. Then maybe line these up like so. Then you can flip this over and then connect those. Here, let's use the direct selection tool and move that. Now I'm using direct selection tool, but I still have the whole object selected. I have all the points still selected. I'm using the direct selection tool because it lets me just like snap this point to this one. Right, then merge that together. And now we have something not exact, but pretty similar we can use. That goes there. Copy it over. Reflect it. What else are we missing? I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's what the end file looks like. We can always look for violin on Google. Copy that picture and paste. Oops, didn't copy it. Copy image, paste. Why isn't it working? There we go. That's pretty similar to what we drew. Right? There's some other pieces here that we don't have. That looks a little bit different. But whatever, close enough. Or you could you can play with this and modify it if you want. Like maybe let's do this. like it looks more like that. This piece can be smaller, and we could get rid of some of these points. Make a different blob shape here. But anyways, I don't want to waste too much time on that. It was a book lesson, so try to do this, but it's not really gonna be your main assignment. Main assignment is draw your name with the pen tool. So this should give you some practice to get good with the pen tool. But once you're done with that practicing, you can try drawing your name in cursive. So for example, D. By the way, if you're using the pen tool and you want to start another shape without continuing the line like this, just press P on your keyboard and you'll start a new one. Right, and it's not gonna be perfect. Like even I'm not gonna do it perfect the first time. You could always adjust things with the direct selection tool, and then you could add. If you turn on view, rulers, show rulers, drag down some guidelines to help you with the base and the ascenders and whatever you call that in typography. But any questions? Because this is basically your after you do the Powerpuff Girls, I think I'll have like a separate thing on Google Classroom for pen practice. Yes, HD 185 pen practice. I'll probably create a topic of pen practice and just every day have a different character to draw. But your assignment will be to draw your name in cursive with the pen tool. And then next class we'll look at how to create custom brushes and apply that to your name.
Is the homework the same for both classes?
No. For
Okay.
CGD 185, you're just gonna be for 180 Illustrator 1, you're just doing the simple lesson 2. So the tree and the grass and the fence.
Okay, I don't see like a like where like it's assigned. So do you just want us to upload it where it says it?
Just a Google Classroom. Like here you see it says um oh wait, I didn't
Just under
assign
like
it.
look,
Sorry, I didn't assign it. That's why.
no
Let me
problem.
let me do it. CGD or let's call this assignment 1 lesson 2. Lesson 2. Complete part 1 and 2 of lesson 2. Maybe I should upload it here. So it's there also. You're gonna complete that. So fix the fence, add grass and a sky, fix the school bus, add a road and sky. Feel free to add anything else to enhance the image. Export as a JPEG or PNG and upload here. Due date, let's just give you a week for all of them, but if it takes you longer, it's okay. I'll just take off points, but you can always submit it late. And then I'll have a topic, CGD 180 assignments. This will be under that. So 180 assignments, and then let's call this one. How do I edit this? Rename CD 185 assignments. Alright, so for 180 you'll have your assignments here, 185 it'll be here. The pen practice though is not really an assignment, it's just something we'll do every day, but I'll create a separate category for that. Create topic pen practice. Let's put this here. Alright, so assignment 1 for, I should put CGD 185 here. So if you see CGD 185, your Illustrator 2, this assignment is for you. Draw a name with pen tool. In cursive, I should say. also edit this one to say CGD 180, because I know here it shows up under the correct topic, but I know it also shows in the stream, and in the stream it doesn't say who it's for, so I'll just put it in the name. Alright, so two assignment ones, one is for 180, the other one's for 185. So if you're in 180, this is your first Illustrator class, just do lesson 2, the one that you can download from here. And if you're in 185 Illustrator 2, try to draw your name in cursive with the pen tool. That's your first assignment. And if you're in Illustrator 2, I'll also have pen practice for you. So if not every day, every other day at least, I'll put a character that you need to draw. So that will be under pen practice. If you're in Illustrator 1, feel free to do the pen practice if you can. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard, but some characters are a little bit harder to draw, but you can do that too, and you'll get some extra credit if you do it. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Then, well, it's not 9:45 yet, so I'll just make this look a little nicer. And if you're having trouble or you don't know how to write in cursive, just Google cursive alphabet. And then you could try to trace these. Oh, why is that so big? There we go. So you could try tracing these letters. Try to use as few points as possible. Now for this letter A, here, let me change my fill and stroke color before I start this. So let's pick for the fill, just go whatever, this purple color, or sorry, with the stroke and no fill. So just a purple stroke, no fill, and I don't know why that line is so thick. It's at one point. I guess this artboard was tiny, that's why. It's only 50 by 50. Let's make that 500 by 500. So another thing, when you're turning in your assignments, well, if it's the lesson, you're exporting it. Whatever the size of that artboard is should be fine from the lesson. But in general, you want at least 500 pixels by 500 pixels if it's gonna be a JPEG. Anyways, here's 500 pixels by 500 pixels, and at one point this should look a lot thinner. Let me delete that and start over. So click from here, click here, drag out there because we need a curve going this way, and then click here and drag this way, and we get a pretty good match. But if you need to, just switch to direct selection tool and adjust it, or wait till you're done and then I guess adjust everything. But continuing from here, we go up there and curve it back down this way. This one will curve this way and then come that way. Then break that, go this way. Why is it thick again? Let's make that 1 point. And then it's up to you, like how you wanna overlap things. And if I was gonna do the A, I would probably go like, how would I do it? And why does it keep defaulting to 5 points? I don't know, I would go like this, I guess. That's how I would draw the A. But anyway, just do the letters of your name. Use a guide if you need to. Right, and then later we'll create our own brushes and apply them to our name. These are some pre-existing brushes, but we'll make our own. Yep. At one point I did like a 3D version of the violin by duplicating this and then merging it together, putting that on the bottom like this. Drawing some lines from here to here, here to here, here to here, there and there. And now the neck is probably thinner, so let's just erase the neck part. And let's select this here, and this here. And let's fill this like that. Select that one and fill that also. And then let's take this color and do the same with over here. Select all of this. Make sure this part here goes a little deeper. Okay, so select this and this, and click on there and make that this color. And select this and this. Do a edit colors, recolor artwork. Let's make it a little bit darker. On that side. And the neck, let's duplicate that. Let's make that just black and send it to the back. Yeah, and we could try to do the same with this one. If you want to do this, it's gonna be extra credit, but I'm not requiring you to do the violin. But I just thought it would look cool if I made it 3D, so I'm doing it. Oh, we forgot this part here. Let's make that the same color as this. Then let's get rid of the strokes on these. I think it'll look cleaner without the stroke. Cool. Alright, going back to Illustrator 1. The artboards on these are, what is it? It's in inches, it's 5.7 by 6.7 inches. Whenever your units are in inches, or whatever it is, if you want to convert from one unit to another, you can just right click on your rulers if you have them visible. If not, go to view, rulers, show rulers, and then you'll see these rulers on the top and the left side. You could right click on the ruler and then choose what units you want. I like working in pixels usually. No point in looking at inches unless you're printing something. But even then, well, we'll talk about resolution later. But usually if you're gonna have something that you're gonna print out like on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you're gonna want your inches to be 8.5 by 11, but then your resolution, which I'm not sure if we can change after you've created a file, but when you're just creating a file, you can choose like inches, 8.5 by 11, standard sheet of paper. And then for raster effects, you'd want to choose high if you're gonna print. And yeah, I guess it doesn't really have resolution here. I think it's only whenever you're exporting it. Export as JPEG, let's say. But still no options here. This is why we have all these different export options. If we do export, actually, if you're gonna do this for print, you'd probably just do a save as and then save as a PDF. Alright, because when you save as a PDF, then you can kind of, I think here it should let us choose the resolution. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't usually save for print from Illustrator, but it doesn't seem to have an option for resolution here. I guess it's if I mean if you choose inches and you save it in inches, I think it is just gonna save it in the proper resolution. It's probably why it doesn't show anything. But anyways, we're not gonna save for print here. Just if you're gonna save a JPEG, make sure it's at least like 500 pixels by 500 pixels. And actually these artboards are, it's close. It's width is 504, height is 489. That's close enough. You revert this, make sure that's what we started with. Yeah, this one's 7" by 6.7", or if you switch to pixels, it's 500 by 489. This one's a little bit smaller, 416 by 489. But this is the one that you're gonna export, right? After you fix this. You add your ground and the sky and all that. You'll export this artboard. So if you want to export this artboard and ignore this one, you could do a file export for screens, and then uncheck artboard 2. Just keep this one checked, and then you can export it. You can choose JPEG, PNG. You could also have multiple formats. If I say add scale, I could save it as a PNG and a JPEG at the same time, and then you could increase the scale like 1 time or 2 times, up to 4 times here. It'll basically increase the size of the image, but 1 time should be okay for this. But yeah, you could do PNG, JPEG. I could add another one if I want to save an SVG, for example. We haven't talked about SVG, what that is, but it stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. It's basically if you want to save it in a format where you're preserving the vector with the points and all that. When you save JPEG or PNG, you're basically turning this into a pixel image. It's no longer vector, because that's what PNGs and JPEGs are. They're raster image formats. So if you wanted to save as a vector image format, you would save as an SVG or an Illustrator file. Also PDF. PDF is not really a format. It's more of a, well, it's a document format, and you could embed different form. You could embed video in a PDF, or buttons, or JPEGs and PNGs and SVGs. So PDF is kind of a container, not really a format you're saving in. Also, if you want to save as a PDF, that's also fine. Okay, anyways, that's it for today. So, any questions? If not, I'll give you the sign out code. And then I think I'll see you tomorrow, right? Yeah. Tomorrow, and then I think we have 2 lab days. I don't know if, or do we still have the Saturday lab? I don't know. I have to look at the schedule. But you guys have the schedule, so just double check.
Yeah, they said still that they sent out an email about the Saturday lab, but I thought it was Mondays and Wednesdays. It's Monday and Tuesday.
Well, up till last session it was Saturdays, but
No, I know. I mean, I'm sorry. I meant like last session it was Monday, Wednesday for class, and then lab was on Saturday. So what I'm saying is like, because you said you'll see us tomorrow. So are we doing class Monday and Tuesday now and lab on Saturday, or is it still class Monday and Wednesday?
I have to double check.
Okay.
I don't know, because it's always different, and I haven't looked at
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what Bridget's saying, that's what her schedule says too. And I haven't looked at it today, but when I looked at it last time, that's what it said. Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah, you're right. So no class tomorrow actually. It's yeah, you're right. Monday, Wednesday is class.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yep.
It's
So
it's every other day, Monday and Wednesday, each
all right,
week.
cool. So November 8th will be the next class, and then 11th will be lab day. That's Saturday. So again, Saturday lab, and then I'll see you again on Monday next week.
Uh-huh. The 13th.
Yep.
So we're good. What's
Okay.
what was that code again?
I didn't say it yet. Okay.
Oh, that's it. That's okay. Sorry.
Let me stop recording real quick.